Okay, hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us this day. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us as we celebrate the International Day and Month of Mentoring here in Linked Africa. This is a special occasion to acknowledge the powerful impact of mentoring and how it's shaping life and empowering communities. Today, we're excited to explore four skills that are essential for success in 2025, with insights from distinguished panel, including myself, Ben Kamari. I lead research and development at Linked Africa. We also have Abraham Lorig, who just spoke a few minutes ago. He's the Director of Education at Linked Africa. We also join with Salimatao Jallo, who is Coordinator of Mentoring Program, and Erin Kaba, who is also a mentor and Events Director at Linked Africa. And now I'm delighted to hand the floor over to Abraham again to introduce the webinar session in light of International Mentoring Day. Abraham, over to you.
I would like to start this by giving a quote from one of the greatest Africans, or I would say African Americans in the past. His name was Joe Frazier, who was a famous boxer. Most of you might have known him. Those of you who didn't know him, you can Google his name right now. He is an incredible gentleman. This is what he said. He said that most of us are like the blind man at one point in our lives, waiting for someone to lead us across. We are like the blind man standing at the corner of the road and we are waiting for someone to lead us across. This is what mentoring is all about. A mentor is someone who can help you across the road. It is not as if there are things we can do on our own, but with a mentor, we do it very faster. And that is what mentors do for us. This day, as we said, is a day to celebrate mentors, first of all. So the relevance of this day basically is to remember the fact that mentorship is important. We know that in the past, most people have done great things because they had mentors. They had someone in their corner who was helping them to do the things they are doing right now. And it is also a time that we celebrate the impact others have had in the lives of people. So in this moment, I will take a minute to just clap my hands for the mentors who are on this platform. If you are a mentor here right now, thank you so much. This is a huge responsibility that you've picked upon yourself and you are doing this. So we really appreciate you here. Again, another mentor I can't move without mentioning is Mick, our very own Mick, the chairman of this particular group, Linked Africa. It's his vision that gave birth to this beautiful thing that we have right now. And it's because of him that we are meeting here. And I believe with his presence even here today, maybe he might not speak, maybe he might speak, but just being here alone, it's a pleasure to me and it gives me the joy to want to give more. Yeah, so when we say why is this day important, I just gave two reasons. One, to remember the fact that mentoring is important. Getting a mentor is important. And also two, to celebrate the impact mentors are having on the lives of other people. Again, let's not forget, when we say mentoring is important, let me just put it this way. We know that a mentor is someone at Linked Africa. This is what we believe. A mentor is someone who has been where you are, knows how to get there, and is willing to help you to get to that place. And that is the simplest way I can put it. In that, we don't just give people the chance to become mentors. We screen them, we give them the chance to become mentors after we know their experiences will be valuable in your life as a mentee. So if you're here and you're a mentee, we celebrate you too for giving us the opportunity to work with you. Again, mentorship. Another value of mentorship, as we all know, is the fact that our current knowledge base, according to Stephen Covey, it has a half-life of 2. It means in 2 years, most of the things we know might not be valuable again. But if you have a mentor, he is able to guide you in the right direction, show you new trends and emerging ideas that you continue to stay fresh in your profession. If it's school that you are in, or let's say if you are in our academic success mentorship, he's able to guide you as to what skills you need to succeed as a student. And that is what mentorship is all about. Again, we also make mention of the fact that even great people, great people in the past had mentors. So when we meet right now and we are talking of the value of mentorship, for example, let's talk of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Those of you from Ghana, or if you are from West Africa, you've heard of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the man who fought for independence for Ghana. He had a mentor. His name was Dr. Kwame Agri. Dr. Kwame Agri is the man who said, if you educate a man, you educate one person. But if you educate a woman, you educate a whole nation. His beliefs, his principles is what shaped the nation Ghana and consequently allowed people to start thinking of taking their girl children to school. He was a great man. That is what we call a revolutionary person, someone who brought an idea that shaped a nation's future. And he was Kwame Nkrumah's mentor. We know of Chinua Achebe, the great writer of Things Fall Apart. He was influenced by many people such as Amos Titulo and Wole Soyinka. We know Nelson Mandela was guided by Walter Sisulu and Albert Lutulu. You can check all these things, you find out. And most importantly too, Nelson Mandela, who we just mentioned, has inspired thousands and millions of people. Barack Obama admittedly says he is one of the people that Nelson Mandela inspired. That is what mentorship is all about. Someone who inspires others to take action. And with this, I'll just jump straight into our vision and mission as an organization. Yes, so the mission of Linked Africa is to create a thriving community of African professionals through collaboration, connections, and to advance their careers. That is what the vision is all about. The vision is to create a thriving community of Africans. The mission, on the other hand, is to mobilize long-term global relationships to form a powerful network that is based on knowledge sharing as the way to create thriving African professionals or flourishing African professionals. Two words that were in our vision and our mission. One is collaboration and networking. Yes, so you realize that most of the things we are talking about is the fact that we believe people can do things on their own, but they do it better when they're with someone else. And that's what collaboration is all about. And this is framed or built on the African proverb that if you want to travel fast, you travel alone. But if you want to travel far, you travel with others. And that is what our vision and our mission is all about. We have these goals set out for us as an organization. First of all, to foster a community, a sense of belonging in among African professionals, to contribute to the development of a skilled and competitive African workforce, to increase employability and career prospects, and to drive economic growth. These are our goals, and we work so hard towards achieving this because it is our belief that if Africans come together to form a community, the continent is going to develop, people are going to develop skills, their skills would open doors of employment and opportunities for them, and consequently they'll be able to contribute to the economic growth of the economy. And that is what the African continent as a whole, and that is what Linked Africa is all about.
Thank you, Abraham. I am pumped and ready to get started. I'm so happy to see everyone today. So before we begin, I want to go over a little housekeeping rules. Please keep your microphone muted during the presentation to minimize the background noise. And as each presenter is presenting, please, if you have any questions or any comments, please type them in the chat. And then after each section, we will try to get to your question. So we're about to head into our first essential skill, time management. Abraham, I'll give it to you.
So yeah, so like I said already, if you are here, we don't want you to leave without taking anything with you. Some of you may say, oh, I can just listen and get the information. But we know the best way to really keep information is to write it down. That is why there's a saying that the payless ink is better than the most retentive memory. It doesn't matter how good your memory is. Sometimes when you write things down, it is often good. So start putting some notes down. And I believe that the best way you can manage your time or your life is to manage your time. The best way to manage your life is to manage your time, simply because everything in life happens around time. And You can't increase your time from what you have right now. You have 24 hours in a day. If you are to live on earth for 70 years, that's as much as you can get. So whatever impact you want to make, start right now, start where you are, and start with whatever you have, and do what you can with it. And then life will give you more to do. That is why it is said that to whom much is given, much is required. And who is able to be faithful with little, more will be added to it. So in the same way, we expect you to give your all with whatever you have. Yeah, so I start with my first time management idea. First is to start your day with a goals list. One of the greatest time management tools ever created is the list, simply because it gives you organization, it gives you focus, and it gives you clarity on what you want to do. And with these, there's nothing you can't achieve. So you start your day with a goals list. I did not say a to-do list, because which is the one most of you are common with, or you are very, very familiar with. That is not what I'm talking about. A goals list, on the other hand, it could be a to-do list, but just change the name to goals list. This is the reason. I believe that the word to do sends the tone of work. And naturally, human beings are naturally inclined to often walk the road of least resistance. Okay. And one of the road that is not of least resistance is the road of work. Yes, even though some people say, I love to work, but that is not the natural instinct. We all know where work came from. So in the sense that if you want to really go over your goals and be able to achieve them, or the things you want to do, change the name to a goals list. The word goals says the tone of achievement, and we are all empowered to want to achieve something. We love the feeling of being a winner. And that is why when you put it as a goals list, you're able to go through it very, very well. Secondly, arrange your task in A, B, C, and D tasks. A tasks are tasks that are important and relevant. They are very, very important and urgent, and you can't do without them. You can't give them to anyone. We all know what those are. In a day, if you have things to do, for example, if you have a job, you cannot delegate your job to another person to go for you. That's an A task, and you have to get it done. So just on your list, check some of the things that if you are a CEO of a company, some of you are big businessmen that you are here, some of the things you have on your list that you know you cannot give it to your subordinates to do for you. I work with students. There are things I cannot give to my co-workers to do for me. Like a meeting I've scheduled with a student and we've reached a certain portion and I know the next step is to go this way. I may not be able to give that student to another person to handle him for me. And it's the same thing with almost every one of us. We have some things that are A tasks. B tasks are important tasks, but they are not urgent. It means you can put them off for a while. So put them below your A tax, the ones that you have to get done now. So put the B tax below the A tax. The C tax are tax that you can delegate to someone. Okay, so going to get inventory, or let's say going to get stationery for your office, grabbing lunch, you can order for them to bring it in if you have to really complete a certain project within a time frame. There's no need to go out to get lunch and spend an hour or 2 hours out there. You can just continue working, order, and they bring it in. Delegate that task. That's a C task. D tasks are tasks that you can delete off your list, things you can decide not to do at all. The idea of getting certain things off your list is to buy you time. So if you would have spent an hour or 15 minutes or even 20 minutes on a task, if you get it off your list, you get those 20 minutes and it could be used on something more productive. Yes, so just accompanying a friend to get coffee, that's a D task. You can cancel it. Tell them you would get to it if you can, or you can make it. There's nothing wrong with being assertive sometimes and being able to tell people no. Yes, if you are shy and you can't tell people I can't do this, there's a nice way of saying it. Someone tells you, can you come and join me for this program? You tell them, oh, I'm not sure, but if anything changes, I'll get back to you. Yes, so don't be too fast to say yes and later on try to find a way to say no again. That could destroy your friendship. But that is how D-tasks are, things you can get off your list. Use the 80-20 rule to prioritize your task. 80-20 rule was propounded by the man called Wilfredo Pareto, and it simply means 80% of the things you do only contribute to 20% of the results you have in life, and 20% contribute to 80% of your success. So in other words, if you have 10 activities to perform. 2 of them are often more important than the 8 put together. And that is what the 80-20 rule is. So on your list, just check again things you have to do. Generally, your goals in life, check those that are your 20 and those that are your 80. The people that are in your life, check the people that are your 20 and those that are your 80. Some people add more to your life, others don't. So you have to really check and pay more attention to your 20%. That is what gives you success. Identify time wasters and cut them off. Time wasters are things that take your time, and you have to make sure to handle them. There are some time wasters that are system imposed. Again, anytime I speak on this, I mention being in traffic when you are going to work or wherever you are traveling to is a system imposed time waster. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't rush to, run the red light because you want to beat that time waster. Wait and be in that. But there are some time wasters that you can deal with. Typical example is getting rid of your phone when you have to do deep work. Cleaning a messy desk. There's a research that indicates that if your desk is clean, it can improve your productivity by not less than 25%, which is proven and right. You can check and see that too. There was a study and they asked 100% of senior executives that who would they want to promote. 95% of the participants said they will not promote someone with a messy desk, simply because if your desk is messy, your mind is messy. It is difficult for you to concentrate and give your all. So always try to have a clean desk and increase your productivity. Identify time, adopt the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique is a technique used to keep yourself in productive work. So for example, if you are someone who easily loses attention or your attention span is not very long, it is often good for you to work in blocks of time. So you can take 25 minutes of active work, take a break of 15 minutes, come back again and continue work. So when you run your 25 minutes for 4 blocks of time, you can take a longer break, in a way rewarding yourself for staying productive and staying true to your calling. The next one is to practice positive procrastination to overcome lack of motivation. We all know one of the things that waste our time very much is procrastination, putting things off and waiting till the last minute before we act. That can steal a lot of time from us. And how do you deal with it? You can adopt positive procrastination. There are times you don't feel like you want to do something, but you know you have to do it because it's important at that time. So how do you get yourself up? Create another task. Okay, yes, so it's more like a hoax or a task that doesn't exist, and procrastinate on the one you created in order to do the most important task. So this is a typical example. You need to complete your books, or you need to write a budget for work tomorrow morning, but the passion and excitement is not there. The motivation is not there to get up and do it. What do? You can decide to say, okay, let me also do laundry. So when you pick up the laundry, get to the laundry room, drop it there, procrastinate on the laundry, and come back, get the books done. Trust me, you will think it's fluke, but try it and see. It works so much. I have used it in so many ways and it has always helped. Create another task, procrastinate on it, do your real task. Finally, and most importantly, all of these things I said will not really give you 100% results unless, again, you have someone in your corner. Again, we said no one succeeds alone. You can check all the great people that you know, even up to here in America, in the US, in UK, everywhere. They all had someone in their corner. Jim Rohn had somebody. Tony Robbins had somebody. I made mention of Africans who already had somebody. I have someone I speak to. Ben has somebody. All of us on this one. So get a mentor, someone who can help you to get to where you are. Dr. David McCollin of Harvard University conducted a 20-year research on why some people succeed greatly and others don't. And this would be my final thing I want you to write down. This is what he came up with. He said a person's success is influenced up to 90% by the people he often associates with. And those people, he decided to call them your reference group. In other words, if you spend more time with 5 people, you become the average of those 5 people. Okay. So we all have some people that are in our lives. And he concluded that even when you change a person's reference group, his mindset changes. It's the same thing as having a mentor. So if you have a mentor who is good, who has a positive influence on you, gradually you become like the person. So this is why getting a mentor is so important. Getting a mentor with Linked Africa or with any other mentorship group is very, very crucial. But we would encourage you to get a mentor with Linked Africa because we have people who understand you and are ready to assist you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abraham, so much. We're going to go to our next skill is communication, and we would love to see your faces. Don't be scared. We won't bite. So if you could turn your camera on, please do. We would love to see you, but if not, we want you to continue to listen. So I am Erin Kaba, Director of Events here at Linked Africa, and I'm going to talk about communication. It is one of the most important skills for success. It matters because it is a core to your success. It's the bridge between ideas and action. It is the key to leadership, and it inspires trust, influences decisions, and fosters collaborations. And it is a lifelong skill. If you do not know how to communicate, you will not be effective in your career, your education, or in your personal life, because communication enhances problem solving, decision making, and overall success. There are some consequences to poor communication. It can have an impact in your career. You can be misunderstood. Your goals can be misunderstood and expectations. You may miss promotions or leadership opportunities, and it can lead to increased workplace conflicts, which we do not want. It has an impact on your education. If you cannot communicate effectively, you'll have lack of clarity in your assignments or expectations, poor collaborations in group projects, and missed learning opportunities due to lack of questions or feedback. And lastly, it can have an effect on your personal life because it can erode trust in personal and professional relationships, and it will lead to isolation or frustration on both sides. So, as you know, we have different types of communication. We're familiar with the verbal communication. We're familiar with the nonverbal communication. Your body language speaks for you. Please remember that. Your body language speaks for you. Your facial expressions can speak for you. We understand what written communication is and what visual communication is. But a lot of people don't realize that silence is a form of communication. It can show that you're thinking about something. It can show that you can use it as a boundary, or you can use it to express discomfort. It's also a tool that you can use intentionally because it communicates as powerfully as words. Sometimes you may be able to say something and you stop and let it sink in to the people that are listening to you. Silence can also be considered as compliance. So if you don't speak up, it could say, oh, you know what? They're okay with this happening. If you see someone being disrespected, if somebody is disrespecting you and you don't say anything, the person who is doing the disrespecting, you being silent, might say, okay, you know what? They're just letting me do it. It's okay. They're letting me get away with that. Your silence can be used as compliance. So understand that if you don't speak up, understand that if you don't use your voice, it can affect the outcome of this situation. Here are some communication tips. Be clear and concise. Use simple language and be direct in your message. Avoid using any slang unless your audience is familiar with it. So you wouldn't use the language that you would use with you and your friends in front of your boss, for example. Practice active listening. Listening is probably the most important thing in communication. You need to pay attention and don't listen just to respond. Listen to understand what is being said to you so that you can communicate back effectively. And reflect on what you heard to ensure that you're understanding the message that you're receiving, and adapt to your audience. Remember who you're talking to. Tailor your message to who you're talking to. If you're talking to your peers, understand the message that you're trying to convey. If you're talking to your boss, if you're talking to a teacher, understand your message and how it will best be received to your audience. And when you're talking to your audience, use examples and analogies to connect with your listeners. And so here are some communication skills that will help you be effective. Master your nonverbal cues. Remain eye contact. If somebody is talking to you, always look at them. Use open body language. Do not sit with your arms crossed, because that could be translated into that you don't want to receive what the other person is saying to you. And smile appropriately. Use I statements. So express your thoughts and feelings without blaming others. So, for example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," you might want to say, "I feel that you may not be understanding what I'm saying." Okay. "I feel concerned when the deadlines are missed," instead of saying, "You're late and I'm tired of you being late on deadlines." Right. So use I statements, leverage your silence wisely, and always reflect and invest in opportunities to sharpen your skills. Like Abraham said, get a mentor within your time management. Allot some time to get a mentor and talk to your mentor about your communication skills, and allot some time to reflect on how you are communicating so that you can be more successful in life. All right. Any questions? I don't think we have any questions in the chat. No, please, if you do, write them in the chat and we will answer them. Going forward, here we go. Leadership.
Hi everyone, I am Salima Tujalo, the mentorship coordinator for Linked Africa. And today I'll take you through the session for leadership. And first of all, I would just like to make you understand that leadership is not just like a title. It is not a role. And in fact, it is not like a thing that people associate with presidents or those in charge. Instead, leadership is the ability to inspire. It is what drives results. It is, and today we would say it is what some of us would say are some of the core competencies of highly effective leaders. And first of all, I would say leadership development is the art of enhancing an individual's ability to lead themselves and others effectively. It is essential for navigating today's fast-paced and complex environment. But what is it that matters? Why does leadership matters at the end of the day? Leadership matters because it helps. It is a skill that helps and can lead to greater self-awareness. It helps people to get to know themselves and improve interpersonal interactions. And it broader influences like those across our lives, those within our microsystems. And like Simon Sinek put it, leadership is not about being in charge. Instead, it is about taking care of those in your charge, those around you. Again, who is a leader? Is every one of us a leader? How do you know whether you're a leader or not? I think this is going to help us understand. First of all, a leader is someone who guides, someone who inspires, someone who influences and motivates others towards a shared vision. A leader is someone who thinks strategically and then, set the tone of the environment. A leader is someone who sets the direction of wherever he or she is. It's someone who creates that culture that fosters inclusivity. Mostly, they lead by example. Like most leaders lead by examples through effective communication, like Erin said, and also through time management, as our Uncle Roland said here. Again, we would say that we will take this quote from John Quincy Adams, who said, if your actions inspires others to do more, to dream more, and become more of who they want to be, that's the time that you can consider yourself a leader. There are many leadership skills. There are a lot of core competencies of highly effective leaders. But for the sake of this time today, we don't have much time, so we're just going to look at the first four. And these are, the first one is emotional intelligence, EI, and it is the capacity to recognize, to understand, and to manage your own emotions within. I mean, leadership starts from within, it starts from yourself. So the ability to recognize that and also whilst empathizing those around you is what makes you have this core competence called emotional intelligence. And it actually helps you to get to understand those around you with empathy, to understand how they relate to certain matters within your environment. And the second most important skill that a leader could possess in today's generation is decision-making skills. We understand that not everyone is good at making decisions. Not everybody is okay to decide, especially when they like when they have dilemmas. Sometimes the ability to evaluate these options and choose the best course of action is what makes you a good leader. The ability to just say, yes, this is what I want, and then sticking by that, being realistic based on the information, based on the research that you do, based on what you see around yourself, is what makes you a good leader. Because at the end of the day, you must have to decide. You must have to do what is right. And then the third competence, leadership competence, is cultural competence. And in cultural competence, what do we mean? It's the ability to interact effectively with those around you. Imagine interacting with those from different backgrounds, different cultures, different, those with different core values, people that you're not familiar with at times. The ability to be with them, to understand them, and to get to know who they are, to respect who they are, especially with their intersections and their diversity, is what cultural competence is about. And leaders need this in today's generation. We definitely need to understand people and then respect them, make them feel heard, loved, and also belonging whilst we're working with them. And the last but not the least is the ability to adapt, like we call it agility, the ability to adapt and be resilient. We say in like Africa, sometimes we say, if you want to be a good leader, you must have a thick skin. What do we mean by the thick skin? It's not that you're unable to, feel hardships or setbacks, but the capacity to adjust, the ability to get back and recover quickly from those setbacks is what we call resilience. So also being able to jump out of those hardships and sometimes behave or pretend as if nothing absolutely is happening is what gives you that skill. So not all leaders have this, but I think, or we think, these are some of the core competencies of highly effective leaders across the globe. And if you were to conduct a survey, you will realize that 77% of employers believe that soft skills and in leadership, for instance, are just as important as technical skills. And this was from the LinkedIn report. And yes, it is so like also interesting to know that 29% of profits, emerging margins, were reported by companies from effective leadership development programs, showing the strong correlation between leadership and success. So these two are actually intertwined, that one cannot go without the other. You cannot claim to have like interpersonal competences or leadership competence without, having the strong people within your institution that will push that profit right there, because these are the leaders that will bring in most of the things that you want in your company or even within yourself. I mean, and then the last but not the least is that 91% of employers also prefer candidates. I mean, candidates with leadership capacities, capabilities, even for entry roles. Imagine entry level roles where people don't really care whether you were once a leader or not. But like here in the US and especially within the globe right now, most employers would prefer candidates that have at least, role led some people, or at least were leaders in maybe even at school. So you think about it in this sense, and then, but then, yeah, are we leaders? Who is a leader among us, and where do we stand at our leadership? Thank you.
Thank you. As a subordinate, how do you deal with a leader who has anger management issues? Oh, we have quite a few. Sorry.
Yeah, as a subordinate, if you feel your leader has anger management issues, first of all, it is good to just take the back seat, think about what they're really going through in their own personal lives, because I feel those anger issues might have been triggered by something that is beyond your understanding. So I would say, first of all, think about where they're coming from, think about their intersections, think about their microsystems and where they're coming from, and see if that was perpetual or it was something that was usual. And from there, you can report to the right persons at the right time to get the right answers. Thank you.
So Gosway, your question was what factors do you consider when choosing a mentor? Yes, it is just the same as when choosing anything. Let's say if you are going to grad school, what factors do you need to consider? And that's why I think your question is so excellent. In everything we do, there are factors there. I believe to choose a mentor, the first thing is knowledge and skills. Okay, knowledge and skills. That is the first thing that you need to consider. Do they have the skills that you need? Do they have the experience that you lack? Because definitely if you are traveling on a road, you want to travel on a road that has already been traveled, or let's say a road, if you are traveling with a mentor, you want to know if the mentor has gone where you want to go. Like I said already at Linked Africa, that's what we look at. Has he been where you want to be? Is he willing to impact the knowledge in you? Willingness is the second factor I would use, because some people have already been where you are, but they are not motivated to really share their life experience. That's not a good mentor. A good mentor should be someone who is willing to really impact the knowledge onto you. Another thing is honesty. Yes, honesty and sincerity. There are no substitutes for these two words. So if a mentor builds their knowledge and skills on lies, that is not someone you should have as a mentor. So look at someone who is honest enough to be willing to tell you if they don't know. You ask them something and they don't know. Someone who is willing to tell you, I don't know, but I'll find it for you. Because let's not forget, a mentor is a human being, and humans, knowledge can only go so far. So that honesty alone should be a factor you should consider. And most importantly, like Erin said, good listener. If you have a mentor who doesn't listen, they can't give you information, because about 80% of communication is based on listening. Most of there's this saying that there's a thin line between assumption and reality, and that's what creates conflict. So people who make assumptions of what you mean rather than listening to really understand what you mean to give you the solution you need wouldn't be a good mentor. So find someone who is ready to listen, and that way you can be able to get a good mentor for yourself. So these are things I think you should consider when you are choosing a mentor.
Thank you, Abraham. One more question that I saw, and I think it was for me, says the eye contact. Based on cultural diversities, some consider staring at someone directly in their eyes, especially an elderly person, it's a sign of disrespect. Therefore, how does one overcome that? That is an act. That's a great question, because it depends on where you're located. Certain cultural norms you have to abide by. So I say, know who you're talking to. So that goes back to knowing your audience. So if you're in a cultural situation where the eye contact is a sign of disrespect, you need to lean more towards doing your communication in a respectful way. So if the person that you're talking to, it's disrespectful to look at them because they're an elderly person or because they're in authority, don't make direct eye contact. Just know where you are and where your surroundings and know the culture of the place that you are at that time. If, for example, you come from a culture where the eye contact is disrespectful, but you're now in a culture or in a country where the eye contact is expected, just kind of do some little, not self-reflection, but a little studying before you go into the situation on what's appropriate, what's not, and try to maintain the eye contact, even though you may be trained that it's disrespectful, but the person that's receiving your information, just understand where you are and know who you're talking to, but always lean on the side of respect where you are. Um, for the sake of time, I'm going to let Ben go into his portion, and then we will circle back and answer more questions. So if you have more questions, please put them in the chat, but we're going to go forward with our last skill, and then we're going to come back to our questions.
All right, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to walk you through a mastery cycle framework. This is more than a skill. It's really a framework that you might need in continuous learning and skill development. So Abraham talked about time management. We also went through communication and leadership. A framework that will help you tie this around is really important. And this is a framework that was advanced or originated by Vin Yang, a communication expert. But over time, I've seen this framework helpful in every area of my professional life and even personal life. And this includes 3 main phases: try and apply, review and reflect, plan and improve. And before you go to the next step, I just want to share a quick personal story. And, you know, when I first went skiing, I had zero experience. After all, I come from Kenya, a tropical country where I'd never seen snow. I was nervous, but excited at the same time. To my surprise, the instructor didn't start teaching me how to ski. The first lesson he taught me was how to fall, literally. And I thought to myself, I came here to learn skiing, not how to fall. But the instructor explained that learning how to fall safely was crucial to avoid injury and discouragement down the line. If you can fall without hurting yourself, you're more likely to keep going after mistakes. Once I mastered falling, we moved on to the basics, turning, controlling speed, and stopping. By the end of the training, I had gone through trying new approaches, making mistakes, improving. By the third day, I wasn't an expert yet, but I didn't fall even once. Why am I sharing this? It's because when I look back, this process of ski learning really mirrors master cycle. It's a framework for continuous learning, reflection, and improvement. And now let's look at try and apply. The next one, please. In the trying phase and applying, it actually involves taking real action, like really going to the ski, going to the snow, if I may use that example. And the goal is to actively practice what you've learned or a new skill that you intend to learn. The focus is gaining hands-on experience here. The key activities that will be practical will be taking action, engaging in a real-world practice. Playing guitar will be another example that I could use here. And then you apply, application is the knowledge you learn maybe from theoretical collection or reading, or just having a mentor telling you something that was helpful to him, and you just put that in use. And then you experiment. And hear me here, please do not be afraid of failure. Embrace failure as part of the process. The phase 2 is the review and reflect. After applying the skill, you pause and reflect. How was that experience for you? The goal here is to assess your performance, identifying what worked well, what didn't, and gain insight from that process and the real action that you took. If I'm to summarize, the activities involved here is really to assess your performance by asking questions like, where did I succeed and where did I fail? Also, you learn from your mistake. You cannot take an audit of where you went wrong or what didn't go well. Understand the reason for the failure and use them as the stepping stone for growth. And then you self-reflect. Here you ask yourself question, what worked, what didn't work, and why? And through that reflection, you actually build a proposal for how to improve in the next one. And in the third phase is actually now planning and improve. You use what you've learned from application or trying and then reflecting. And now you just plan, how can I adjust? If I may go back to my skiing experience, when I fell, dangerously, I reflected, how did I miss? I consulted my instructor then. It's maybe the balance I didn't have or the angle in which I fall or I fell. And so you make those adjustments and you create a plan for improvement. The goal is to take action and feedback from the previous review and reflect. The key activities that you can look at will be set improvement goals. We talked about setting goals in the conversation. So define specific and measurable objectives based on the weaknesses and gaps you identified during the first and the second phases. And then as you adjust those strategies, you modify to make sure you don't repeat or you don't use the same approach that led to failure. And then you stay flexible. Recognize that progress is not a linear, otherwise you may be discouraged. Progress is really, it's called for patience. A quick story here. My grandpa is 100 years old. He's a farmer. And I could see him, grow crops, and he would just walk to the farm, wait for the rains. 6 months, 8 months later is when the crops come. And that's just, real life situation that I saw growing up is really patience. And so why is this very important? It's because it's a dynamic, ongoing learning and active engagement. You learn a new skill and you engage it, ongoing, and then you reflect. Targeted improvement is a key thing that you pick up as you go through this cycle. So trying, applying, review, reflect, plan, and improve. And I want to leave you with one thing. If you forget everything I say, and whether you're a mentor here, a mentee, a leader, a student, mastering a mastery cycle, and pun intended here, could be the key for your success in 2025, whether you are looking at time management, communication, or leadership development. And so I encourage you, in fact, I invite you to apply this framework in the areas that you would like to grow in 2025. And promise me, let's start today and watch our growth unfold. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any question if we have.
Okay, we have more questions.
So she asked, what leadership style do you think is the best for the globe with the different culture? Okay, so for this, we would say there's no wrong or right type of leadership in the globe right now. It just depends on the people that are led and also the mission of the institution or the organization that has been led. But we would suggest that a transformational leadership style would work, looking at how the world is transforming rapidly and also looking at how diverse these institutions are. We also suggest a servant form of leadership, leading from the back, letting those that you're leading in front to decide on critical issues, even if you are able to do so. And also being like, we would encourage participative leadership, involving everyone on board, making sure that those that are led are included in every decision that is being made, as long as they have what it takes to really, participate. And we also say maybe adaptive form of leadership would also work in today's world. Thank you.
I saw a really good question from Ebrima Dam. The question is, why is it that in some part of Africa, leadership, mentoring, and communication is not actually taught through school? Instead, these opportunities comes when you already have a job or in the job market, in the adult learning space. Therefore, I think it's part B of the question. Does Linked Africa has plans to change this? Wow, that's a great question. If you ask why Linked Africa exists, this is why. We want to change the culture. We want to enrich the learning experience in school. I'm privileged to lead research and development in Linked Africa. And one of the things I'm working on is identifying those gaps that you just pointed out. We kind of know about them. We want to see what are the patterns that we can mitigate with some interruptions. If the learning at school lacking that curriculum, we can package some deliverables that will help schools and school systems to introduce some aspect of leadership, communication, and the other ones that you mentioned. I really sympathize with us coming from Africa, and I'm one of them. I love Africa. I have my people there. The love for Africa is really the heartbeat of Linked Africa. And if you ask me, I would like to give back. And yes, Linked Africa has opportunities to really mentor and give frameworks, like we talked about, to help you give back to your brother, to your sister, an upcoming, think tank for the next generation. Great question. I appreciate that.
I see there's actually two questions that I wanted to respond to in one answer, if that's okay. The first question is it always advisable to choose a career mentor in your field? And then the other question is everyone older than you a potential mentor? Can we have mentees older than their mentors? What are the pros and the cons? So I feel like these two questions are kind of related. Your mentor is someone who has experience, who has, I guess, leadership or a high level of understanding in the area that you choose to be mentored. So, for example, if someone wants to be mentored on communicating well, they may be in a different career than you, but their experience, they're an expert on communication and they can help you with that skill. I think that when you choose a mentor, you need to think about what exactly do I want from this mentor? Is it leadership qualities? Is it academic skills? Like, what do you want out of the mentoring relationship? And then you can choose the type of mentor that you want. It could be in your career, or it could be based on the skill that you want to grow. So that person may be younger than you, that person may be older than you. It's all about the expertise and the strength that they have in that area that you want to grow. So I hope that answers both.
Yeah. Okay. I also saw one here. How does one manage failure without being anxious of imposter syndrome? But before that, I think there were some earlier questions we skipped about Linked Africa, which was what else do we do apart from mentorship? Yes, Linked Africa offers mentorship in 3 areas: academic success mentorship, school to career mentorship, and professional development mentorship. And besides these, we hold programs like workshops, seminars, and now what we are doing is we are expanding our reach in terms of if you are a mentor or a mentee on our platform and you want to hold a program and you need our support to do it, we are there to assist you to do that. We have people who also assist those who are doing applications to schools, applications to jobs, preparing for interviews. There's so many things that you can get being with us on this platform. Yes, so for failure, one thing we know is this. The word failure, you have to really redefine it. Let's not forget, success in itself has failure ingrained in it. Okay. Until you fail, you will never know if you've succeeded. So if you are in a new role and in your mind you feel like you're failing, see it as a learning process, because growth in itself is learning. You don't get up and you are unexpecting what you do already. Some people may start a job and in the first few months, they begin to think, I'm failing. I feel like I'm a fraud. That's what imposter syndrome is about. The feeling that people will discover you, that you are not as good as you said you were, which happens to even the best of us in society. It is normal. It's not a bad thing to feel sometimes that you are not good enough. It is just an edge that naturally pushes us to want to learn more, to grow more, and to become more. So when you feel like you are failing, just see it as part of the learning process, pick yourself up and do more to become more. And that's what Linked Africa is all about. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're right at time, but I do want to answer one more question. It says, this is my first time here. How often are these meetings conducted? This is good. We thank you that you find value in this meeting, and we're really excited that you came, and we hope we see you again. We will be having meetings like this quite a few times throughout the year. So continue to follow us on LinkedIn and our website and wherever, however you found this, continue to follow us. And we're going to be hosting many more events like this. And if you don't have a mentor, like Abraham said, we will be happy to match you with someone who can be beneficial to you. I'm going to let Abraham close us out. And Abraham, can you please give our audience ways to contact us if they have any more questions?
Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you, Salima, and thank you, Ben. Your insights, I believe, has been very, very good for the people that joined. We are very grateful that you took the time. We know how valuable time is. After I just spoke about time management, so we know how important time is for you, and you took an hour out of your time to be with us today. So we really appreciate this. We do not take it lightly at all. To reach us, you can either connect with us on LinkedIn or just Google Linked Africa and check out what we do on our website. We will also drop some emails in here for you to be able to, very good. I think Meg just did that, info@Linked Africa. So those of you, info@linked.africa, those of you who want to connect with us, please check that. Our website is also dropped in there as well. Thank you so much, Meg. Yes, so that is how you reach us, and we'll be happy to continue to connect with you. These events will be organized as often as we can, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.